It's a great day to spend a Sunday afternoon in Seattle, Washington, with the sky starting to brighten up and the clouds starting to make room for the sun. Welcome, everybody, to Mariner Baseball today from Safeco Field, the finale of a 4-game series. It's the Mariners taking on the Los Angeles Angels. A pretty good crowd on hand as we've had in the previous couple of days. Dave Sims, Mike Flowers, and the Root Sports crew with you. Hisashi Iwakuma on the mound. Here's the batting order he'll face today.
Leading off, it'll be Peter Borges and then Mike Trout. That's the speed for the Angels. Want to keep them off the bases. Pujols, the DH today, hitting third. Josh Hamilton. You can see, look at him. First swing this year, 50% of the time. He gets after it right away, so Iwakuma have to be aware of that. Then it's Trumbo, Kendrick, Iannetta, Jimenez. Andrew Romine getting his first start of the series. He will play shortstop and hit ninth. Iwakuma, first month has been fantastic. This will be a 6th start. Look at his ERA, a 1.99 ERA for Kuma. 31 and 2/3 innings, 29 strikeouts to only 5 walks. Opponents average just 164. And the T-Mobile defense behind him. Jason Bay getting the start in left field. Chavez in center. Michael Morris out in right. And on the infield, haven't changed. Kyle Seager is at third. Andino getting the start at shortstop. Ackley is at second. Morales getting a start at first. Justice Smoke his first day off this year. And then it's Kelly Shopik doing the catching. Last start for Iwakuma, a little bit of a struggle for him. 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 runs. Only 2 of them earned. Walked 3 batters, had 11 strikeouts. Fastball command was a little bit of an issue for him, but he was able to work his way through it. 93 pitches in his last outing.
He dug down deep in that outing against Houston. It was impressive.
That's something that we talk about all the time with starting pitchers. Easier for them when they have their good stuff. How do they do when they don't have it? And I thought his last outing, even though he had the 11 strikeouts, struggled getting his fastball where he wanted to, was up in the zone quite a bit. Have to keep an eye on that blister as he works today.
We are ready for action. They pulled the roof back about 8 minutes before the hour. First pitch of the ball game is in there for a called strike to Peter Borges. Mike Everett's got balls and strikes today. Marty Foster, the umpire, at first. Scott Barry at second, and Wally Bell at third. Mariners trying to win their first series of the season. As Borges behind on that one, 0-2.
Well, that's 2 perfect fastballs to start the game. Both of them right on the outside corner at the knee. So good start here for Iwakuma. His fastball will be 87 to 93 miles an hour. He throws all the pitches. His out pitches, his split.
0-2 to Borges. Line drive, base hit, right field. Morris will get it back in. Borges went with the pitch.
Yeah, he tried to paint 3 fastballs in a row. This one runs back on the plate, middle away. Borges hits it into right field.
Borges been swinging it back quite well of late. Last 9 games, 15 for 34 before that base hit. Here's Mike Trout. Trout 1 for 3 last night, got a sacrifice fly. One of the great speed combinations at the top of anybody's order in Major League Baseball. Trout unanimous Rookie of the Year, American League last season. Let's see that sun breaking through. Iwakuma paying a lot of attention to Borges. Borges 1 for 1 in base stealing. Got his first last night in the 3rd inning, and eventually came around to score in a sacrifice fly by Trout in the 3rd. Got a base hit to center, stole second. A throw by Montero went into center field, getting him to 3rd. Ball 1 to Trout.
All fastballs so far from Iwakuma. He can sink it in on the hands of the right-handed hitters. See if he tries to do that, maybe get a double play. It'll be a tough double play with Trout at home and Borges at first.
Fouled out.
Good breaking ball. Throw a slider and a curveball along with his split. See the location on our EQC tracer is perfect.
Mariners won the first game 6-0. Angels won the second 6-3, and Felix and the Mariners 3-2 winners last night. In tight to Trout 2-1.
It's a good pitch from Iwakuma. We mentioned 3 pitches in a row to the outside part of the plate to Borges, and he served one in the right field. His first 2 pitches to Trout were also away. Every now and then you have to straighten the guys up, keep them honest, don't let them hang out over the plate on you.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. 2-2. Iwakuma last year, a lot of success here at Safeco in 2 starts. 13 1/3 scoreless against these Angels. Going 2-0 in the process. Good look for the first base stands, a grandstand. 2-2 to count to Trout. Fouled into the glove of Shopik, and Trout is gone. First strikeout. Iwakuma, big out. Brings up Albert Pujols, DHing today.
He gets it on the best fastball he's thrown so far. 91 miles an hour at the top of the strike zone. Trout not able to catch up to it.
Here's Pujols, 0 for 4 last evening.
Albert dealing with plantar fasciitis in his foot. A little bit surprised that he's been playing first base throughout the series. He's DH today.
Pujols 2 for 13 against Iwakuma. 4 strikeouts. Slow breaking ball squibbed off the end of the bat. One play for Ackley, and he gets Pujols for the second out. Down the second goes Borges.
Bring up Josh Hamilton. Hamilton last night, you showed the graphic, 50% of the time he swings at the first pitch, and that's what he did all night last night. He was swinging at everything Felix would throw up there.
1 for 4 last night. He got a base hit in the 9th inning against Tom Wilhelmsen, and that was all that Tom allowed last evening, picking up his 7th save. Made Felix a winner. Felix now 3-2 in career victory number 101. Here's that first pitch offering, strike 1. Hamilton 2 for 6 against Iwakuma. Missed outside. Mike Everett making an emphatic call.
Good pitch. Last pitch just missing the outside corner as Felix was having a good time with some of the fans.
Brilliant again last night. Eric Wedge went to get him, and after the 8th inning, he says, "I'll take you out." He says, "Yeah, I'm done. I'm good."
8 innings, 5 hits, gave up 1 earned run last night.
Sliced foul behind home plate. Ball 2 strikes to Hamilton.
Thought it was interesting, that comment from Felix. We haven't heard that from him. Typically he always wants to stay in the game. 95 pitches, nowhere near as far as he can go, but if he was a little bit tired, I think it showed a lot of confidence in Tom Wilhelmsen to turn that game over to him and have him hold on to that 1-run lead.
Tell you what, not only physically but mentally thinking along in this game too. He had to have been emotionally exhausted last night as well. This is a very good hitting lineup. Ball 2 strikes to Hamilton with Borges. Lots of speed at second base. 2-2. Big crowds here the last 2 nights, 31,000 plus. Not quite as many today, but they enjoy a very good looking Sunday afternoon A lot of blue sky breaking through those clouds. 2-2 here to Hamilton. Off-speed pitch. Hit the left field. Jason Bay's under it, and Iwakuma off to a good start. Gives up a leadoff hit to Borges, and he's stranded at second base. Mariners coming to bat. Years young, 1963, first American to climb Mount Everest. Good to have him here at the ballpark throughout the first pitch today. Let's take a look at the Mariners batting order that will face their former teammate Jason Vargas.
For manager Eric Wedge, Indy Chavez leading off. What a job he has done, hitting .320 overall, 500 in this series. Then it's Kyle Seager, 16-game hitting streak for him. Morales, the first baseman, hitting third. Then it's Morris. Shopik moving up to hit fifth today. Montero, one of the stars last night, the DH, hitting sixth. And it's Ackley, Bay, and Andino rounding out the 9 for the Mariners. Jason Vargas this year been a struggle for him. 0-2 record, 5.82 ERA. He's given up a lot of hits over the 21 2/3 innings. Also 10 walks hasn't helped.
First pitch to Indy Chavez in there for a strike, and now with that strike, that pitch, Jason Vargas has faced every team in the major leagues. Chavez has been outstanding, 6 for 12 in his homestand.
Yeah, he's been terrific since taking over in center field when Goody went on the DL. Vargas, 34 hits he's given up over the 21 2/3 innings, and along with 10 walks, that's the reason why the ERA is so high.
Fouled off the fist. Looks like Jason has a little bit more of a trunk twist turn in his delivery than he had when we last saw him. That had been coming along the last year or so.
Yeah, he started that here, but you're right. Definitely a little bit bigger of a turn than we've seen from him. Probably just trying to hide the ball a little bit more.
Ground ball down to second, and Howard Kendrick throws out Chavez.
And this is what Dave was talking about. We know how Felix will do it, but Vargas doing the same thing, turning his back to home plate. Take a look at the T-Mobile defense for the Angels. Trout in left field. Borges is in center. Josh Hamilton, the right fielder. And on the infield, Luis Jimenez at third. Romine getting his first start at shortstop. Kendrick and Pujols on the right side of the infield. And Chris Iannetta will do the catching.
Number 2 hitter's Kyle Seager, riding a 16-game hitting streak. And he looks at strike one.
You look at batters against Vargas. Right-handers hitting .311. That's a big number. But how about the left-handers hitting .484?
Ouch. Boy, let it ride today. You lefties in the lineup for the Mariners.
Now they're able to take that changeup away from him.
Thank you, Mike Everett.
For Vargas, fastball, slider, curve, changeup. He will throw his changeup at any time. Double up, triple up on that pitch. He'll also use a cutter in on the hands of the righties.
Didn't hit it well. Trumbo been in the outfield the last couple of days, makes the out. 2 outs. Brings up Kendrys Morales. What a big moment he had last night, coming off the bench, pinch hitting with 1 out. And he delivers an RBI to put the Mariners ahead, and it eventually is the game winner. And Eric Witt said, hey, sometimes I like to wait till the 9th inning, but he said, let's win this game now in the 7th. It worked out well.
Morales had to feel good about that hit. One, getting Felix the win last night. The club wins, but he also beat his former team, the Angels. When you look at Morales against Vargas, he's had success. 417 with a couple of home runs off of Vargas.
Kendrys, a nice addition to this ball club. High pop, short right field for Hamilton. And the Mariners are going 1-2-3 in the first. Glad you're with us. Good day to be in Seattle. Great Sunday to be alive. Watch some baseball. No scores. We go to the 2nd. That has everyone, including Buffalo's, talking. You voted, and the first T-shirt Tuesday of the season is going to be Brendan Ryan's I Talked to Buffalo's T-shirt. It's a nod to the shortstop's co-star from this year's Mariners TV commercials. It's free to the first 5,000 fans this Tuesday against the Orioles. And your tickets to see this winning design, go to mariners.com/shirt. Little Fez action, a little bit out of my league. Like the beard of the guy on the right. Rocking that pretty steady. Mark Trumbo to lead it off. Trumbo, Kendrick, Iannetta, 5, 6, and 7 here for the Angels. White sunshine breaking through. Trumbo, one of the bright young hitters in Major League Baseball. Fooled on that pitch. He's 2 for 7 career against Iwakuma.
Looks like a good slider. You can expand the zone, throw some pitches off the plate away, and he will chase them. Trumbo off to a good start, hitting .309, 3 home runs. One of those home runs coming in this series. He hit one dead center field. 12 RBIs for him.
And Shopik will apply the tag. Trumbo's gone. Second strikeout for Iwakuma.
It looked like he was able to put him away with that good split. Split finger is the one that has caused him problems with his finger. See Shopik keeping it in front of him as he puts the tag there and a swing and a miss. Good pitch.
Here's Howie Kendrick, second baseman. Fouls him off. Now we 1 for 4. last night. Got a base hit. He hit back through the box, went off of Felix Hernandez. Felix is okay though. Now he's an avid photographer, so he's enjoyed walking around Seattle, doing a lot of work. Pitch outside, 1-1. You see Safeco Field. We are right above the old A there. Best broadcast location in baseball. One pitch. Hit well, right field. Backing up Morris over his head. Kendrick will roll into second. This third double of the season.
Two hitters for Iwakuma, where he stayed with his fastball away from him with 3 straight pitches. One was DeBorges. He ended up with a base hit to right. And this right here is the third fastball in a row away. It's elevated up in the zone, and he hits it hard out to right field. Lines it over the head of Morris.
So Howie Kendrick is aboard. Brings up the catcher Chris Iannetta. Inside to Chris. Iannetta, leadoff homer last night against Felix Hernandez in the third inning.
That was the only earned run that Felix gave up in last night's game. Iannetta has homered in this series, the catcher for the Angels. Backup catcher Hank Conker also has a home run in this series.
Off speed pitch. Hit down to Andino. Robert throws over to Morales for out number 2. Down third goes Howie Kendrick. Bring up Luis Jimenez. Jimenez batting in the 8-hole today. He's batted 9th in previous games. Iwakuma have to be careful with Jimenez. Enjoys a .286 batting average. Best rookie, Angels rookie batting average for the month of April behind JT Snow's .343 back in '93.
One of the interesting things with the Angels is they're second in the league in hitting. They were first when the series started, but they're second now. They're only hitting .226 with runners in scoring position, so they've had their issues in these situations. 0 for 2 so far in the game.
Again playing without 2 of their front liners. Eric Ibar, their outstanding shortstop, and Alberto Callaspo. Both are out, so maybe midweek. Mariners will see the Angels down in Anaheim 21st, 22nd of May. I think those 2 guys will be totally up to speed by that time. 1-1. Swing and miss.
Right, man. Hopefully the Mariners will have Michael Saunders back.
Here.
Yep.
Danny Hulson's in town today, undergoing some treatment. Rick Griffin and his staff working with him. Shoulder issues, tendonitis, on the shelf for about next 10 to 12 days. Two outs, runner at third, and a 1-2 count to Jimenez.
The Mariners can find a way to win this game today. They'll jump ahead of the Angels, find themselves in third place ahead of the Angels in Houston. The Angels a half a game ahead of the Mariners at the start of this one. You can see the American League West, the standings. Mariners with 1 more win, but a couple more losses, so they're a half game back of Los Angeles. And the A's have really cooled off.
Haven't they? Texas right now losing 5-0. Bottom 8 in Minnesota. 2-2. Just outside.
No score in Oakland. Baltimore's in Oakland. They're in the third inning. 0-0 game.
Houston swept by Boston 6-1 final. John Lackey with the win. beat Bud Norris. Iwakuma's got a full count, 2 outs, runner at third. Pitch to Jimenez. And made a very nice catch. 2 hands, barehanded.
The last pitch on the outside corner. It was elevated. Jimenez putting up a fight here. 7th pitch of this at bat coming up.
Do it again at 3-2. Popped it up. Chavez coming in. Got it all the way. And that'll do it. String a runner at third. Iwakuma survives a double by Howie Kendrick. No score here in Seattle.
Is brought to you by the Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
Happy Sunday to everybody. So it can be from Safeco Field, the Mariners and the Angels in the finale of this 4-game set. Michael Morse, Kelly Shopik, and Jesus Montero against former Mariner Jason Vargas. Morse pops one up, going back. First baseman Trumbo with room, and he makes the play. Morris coming off a 1-for-4 performance last night. How about the Mariners? They get Shopik catching, Montero DHing, and hopefully this will not come up. Emergency catcher Mike Flowers.
It won't. Confident that it won't. It's the first thing I thought of when I saw the lineup today, and I just put it out of my mind. That's not going to happen.
You know the skipper's thinking the same thing. Shopik's been swinging the bat well. Very good behind the plate. Montero's bat starting to pick up a little bit. Give Smoke the day off. Much needed. Pitch from Vargas. Is in there for strike.
Looking at the lineup and the extra players, if something were to happen, would he dare put Ibanez back behind the plate? Or former catcher?
He's going through the same thing you probably went through back in the day. Please, everybody stay off.
No, he just calmly walked by Kelly Shopik's locker this morning and said, no hamstrings, no thumbs, none of that stuff happening today.
Not buying it.
You're in there for 9.
I don't know you. Stay away from me.
There's Raul. I can remember, gosh, it was was in '93, in the winter of '93. He and I down at the instructional league blocking balls together, of all things. Raul was a young catcher at that
Tennis
time.
Balls or baseballs?
No. The baseball's out of the pitching machine. Roger Hansen
dialed up
was
high.
firing them. Oh, yeah.
Strike 3 called. Shapik, no protestation. 2 down.
Raul eventually did the smart thing and moved to the outfield.
2 outs for a strikeout for Vargas.
Good game for Montero last night. He did a lot of things well. Had a couple of hits, including the 2-run homer to tie the game up. But I thought he did an excellent job keeping the ball in front of him with Felix on the mound. And that was a great play he made at the plate when they tried the squeeze play. Everybody was talking about the little shovel pass that Felix made with his glove, which was really good. But I thought the job that he did to block the plate with Trumbo coming on him was pretty good.
I was with you. Having seen pitchers blow that play.
Yes.
That was the thing I focused on. But then when you brought up and I looked, ooh, he did drop a good knee on him. Eric Wedge, a former catcher himself, very appreciative of that. But he said the guy in the other dugout was maybe the best. Socha dropping a knee on a guy.
Yes. There you go. Here's the play last night. And the timing of it, he gave him home plate. And in the last minute, when he saw the ball and he was able to catch it, he drops a knee in front of it to block the plate. And you're right, Socha was one of the best ever at this play of blocking the plate. But I think Trumbo thought he could see that little gap. He thought he was going to be able to go straight leg in there, and it was a good play by Montero. I like Montero after the game talking about it. He kept talking about how big Trumbo was, and he was fully aware of who was coming down the line.
There's certain things, when you're a catcher, a lot of times you look out there and say, okay, that's what I might have to deal with. Okay, then you put that in there. It's like, hey, be ready to brace yourself. How are you going to brace yourself? I don't blame him for being well aware.
And the hard part about it, too, is it's not like he can look down the line to see where he's at.
No, heck no.
Yeah.
Montero works a lot.
He has to concentrate on the baseball, knowing that the guy is getting closer to him. And Trumbo can run.
Oh, very fast. That big man. He can motor.
Trumbo playing first base today. He's playing right field.
So there's a good look at the size we're talking about.
Yeah.
2 big guys.
But Trumbo would have been the one with all the momentum.
Correct.
It's a good play, though.
Correct.
Montero really had a good game last night.
Probably wouldn't have been, had it happened, might not have been the first nor the last time Montero got housed.
Oh, no. You stay back there long enough, it's going to happen to everybody throughout their career.
Ackley in the 7-hole tonight, or this afternoon, coming off a 1-for-4 last evening. 1-1 to count.
Dustin extending his hitting streak to 8 games with that 1-for-4 last night. Hitting .414 over the 8-game hitting streak that he has. See what he's done this series, 3 for 10.
Breaking ball for strike. Facing an old teammate, what's it like? Especially, this is a very fresh memory, and we're not talking a separation of years, we're talking about a separation of months here.
Yeah, I didn't mind it at all. I sort of liked it. I felt like I had a little bit of an advantage.
In tight 2-2.
Know what their strengths are, what they're trying to do, and typically have enough conversations with them. And Jason obviously has been here for a long time. Have enough conversations where you get a feel for what they would do to try to get you out. I didn't mind it at all.
Dribbler foul. That's how he's been attacking Dustin Ackley. Jason Vargas got here to Seattle in 09. He's here through last season. Began his career with Florida. Short stint with the Mets. Jason out of Apple Valley, California, went to Long Beach State. He's reunited with Jared Weaver. Big right-hander for the Angels. He's on the DL with a left elbow issue. 2-2. Hit hard. And eats up Howie Kendrick in the right field. Hamilton gets it back in.
Should be a base hit.
Absolutely. Oh, stunned. 2-out situation here building for the Mariners.
We talked about left-handed hitters hitting .484 off of Vargas. Howie Kendrick didn't even get a glove on it. It was hit hard. That should extend the hitting streak for Ackley to 9 games now.
First 2-man aboard here for the Mariners. And it brings up Jason Bay. He's in left field today. Bay in his 7th start in left field. 11th start overall.
222 for Jason. 1 home run, 4 RBIs.
Strike 1. Indeed was a hit for Ackley. Works inside. Gets that inside corner, so Bay behind 0-2.
Good changeup from Jason. He has good movement on that pitch as a hitter. It looks like it's going to be inside, and then he'll run back on the inside corner.
Outside. Bay against Vargas, 1 for 5 with a triple. Knocked in 3 with that triple. Got a walk and a strikeout. Swing and a miss. Vargas racks up a strikeout to quell the Mariners' 2nd inning threat. Mariners lead 2, no score. Tap tomorrow, this Mother's Day. You'll give Mom 2 things that sparkle when you take her to the Mariners game. The Safeco Field Diamond plus a beautiful Mariners bracelet. It's free to the first 10,000 women 21 and older on Sunday, May 12th. Thanks to EQC. Make plans. Celebrate at Safeco Field when you get your tickets for Mom and the whole family at Mariners.com. Andrew Romine, shortstop to lead it off. It's strike 1. His brother Austin, outstanding catcher, just called up to the Yankees a couple of days ago with Francisco Cervelli suffering an injury. Obviously, that's pretty cool for the Romine family. Have both boys up in the big leagues. Nothing better than the Uptons, though, having the 2 guys
same outfield.
Get same outfield. Yeah. Braves 0-2.
Well, Iwakuma's doing his thing. 33 pitches, 24 strikes. He's faced 9 batters, 7 first pitch strikes.
Kuma's got Romine, Borges, and Trout 9-1 and 2 here in the top of the third.
Iwakuma, 21 career starts in the major leagues before this game today. A 2.49 ERA as a starter.
Marked contrast from what we saw. You know, a guy who was, you know, new culture, new country. Wasn't. There's a strike 3 call. Romine gone. Third K for Iwakuma. Not as strong as he is now at the beginning when he came here last year. He's a totally different guy.
I would agree with that, and a lot of confidence as we take another look at fastball. Started in off the plate. Good run on the inside corner. He is really sharp with his fastball today, using both sides of the plate and elevating his fastball when he wants to.
Top of the order, here's Borges. Seeing what we've seen of him since he became a starter, you can understand why he was MVP and the winner of Sawamura Award, which is the Japanese equivalent to the Cy Young, back in 2008. I mean, he's got good credentials from back in his home country.
I would think that's where he's most comfortable is starting, but I think more importantly, being around the league for a little bit and getting a chance to watch these guys, you don't know what to expect. And although, as you mentioned, a lot of success over in Japan, he had to come over here and know that his stuff was good enough. And I think once he figured that out, he's just taking it and run with it.
2-1 pitch. Swing and a miss.
When you think about it, Felix has had just a great April. He was terrific again last night. Felix in April now, ERA is at 1.90 this year.
I mean, that is crazy good.
It's crazy good, but you look up at the scoreboard, Iwakuma right now is at a 1.85.
Felix's last 3 starts, 2-1 with a 0.82. Kuma right there, 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. That was an awkward swing on a terrific pitcher's pitch. Back-to-back strikeouts, 4 Ks for Iwakuma. K is for Kuma here today in the third. CenturyLink, what's next? Orioles in town. Former Oriole Joe Saunders goes against Zach Britton. Jason Hamill against Brandon Maurer. And Wei-Yun Chang. We saw Chen throw a real good game here. I think it was last year before last. Really good game against Aaron Harang. Still looking for his first Mariner victory.
Yeah, Chen will sink the ball, try to keep it on the ground. It's off to a good start with a 2.53 ERA. Zach Britton making his debut against the Mariners in that first game tomorrow night, but we've seen him before. Has a good arm.
Swing and a miss. 0-2.
Changing speeds along with great location. The last pitch, 72 miles an hour on that breaking ball. He's fun. Look at that. 42 pitches, 30 strikes for Iwakuma. 9 first pitch strikes out of the 11 hitters he has faced.
0-2. Top foul. Fielding job by Dino Ebel, third base coach. First inning, he had a leadoff hit for Borges, lead off the ballgame to right field on a 2-strike count. He got stranded at second. A 1-out double by Howie Kendrick got the third on a ground out, and that was as far as he got. Nobody on here. Two outs, nobody on. Pujols on deck. Great vantage point. Enjoy the cotton candy. Breezy and comfortable out in center field. Good look at happenings. Iwakuma on the mound. 0-2 to Trout. Oh, ran in on his fist. That was a good one.
I was watching one of the sports shows this morning, and He had some of the experts on there, and one of them compared Trout to Mickey Mantle, which we've heard, Bryce Harper, Willie Mays.
Let it happen, so let it be written, so let it be done.
That was pretty high praise. Trout obviously was great last year, and Harper second in the league in home runs and average in the National League right now.
They should be so lucky. Iwakuma with 5 strikeouts. He strikes out the side here in the third. No score from Safeco Field. Baseball on Root Sports being brought to you by Jack in the Box. The Chipotle Chicken Club Combo is back for a limited time at Jack in the Box. Try one today with fries and a drink for just $4.99 plus tax. By Auburn Volkswagen, Das Auto, and by BNSF Railway, the engine that connects us. As we get a great look. Cloud movement here in Seattle from Lookout Landing here at the ballpark. Dave Sims, Mike Blowers, Root Sports crew. Robert Andino, Indy Chavez, Kyle Seager, 9-1-2 here in the home third against Jason Vargas.
Time to score a couple of runs. Iwakuma looks like he's on his game, shutting the Angels down. A bit of run support. Andino having a good series, 2 for 6.
Right to through Howie Kendrick. He boots that one. The leadoff base runner for the Mariners. E4 on Howie, and Andino's aboard.
Well, this is the reason why you drop a knee. You go down on a knee to keep it in front of you, but he still lifts his glove a little bit early, and it goes right underneath it. That's a great break for the Mariners. It was hit hard by Andino, and Howie just picked up the gate, and the ball made its way into right field.
4th error by Howie Kendrick. Base runner for the Mariners. Andino has yet to attempt a stolen base. Mariners not running hardly at all this year. They're dead last in stolen bases with a total of 7. The Angels generally run a lot. They're not much higher. They have 9. Font laid down but foul. Indy Chavez ground out to second his first time up.
See the Angels, their first baseman today is Trumbo, but it had been Pujols. When runners get on first base, they actually play off of the base, trying to give themselves a little bit more range in the field. And I was watching Andino, and it looked like he was having a tough time seeing Vargas, because Trumbo is huge standing in front of him, just trying to get an angle on him. And I've seen first basemen try to stand in front of you to block your view.
Rushing hard Jimenez from third. 0-2 here to Indy.
As hard as Jimenez was coming, that would have been a good time for the old butcher boy, wouldn't it?
You know it. That'll be the last time I do that for several months. We haven't seen, what, 2 years ago? Eric Burns, I think, did it.
I think it was Burns, yeah. I think he tried it.
Scared the daylights out of the baseman when it was crashing hard.
Third baseman. I used to hate that play, but now that I sit up here, it's okay.
Three words. You do it.
That's right. Sounds like a much better idea now. When I was 15 feet away from home plate.
Oh, man. Okay. Here comes the bat through the zone. Oh, my goodness. What do you remember about the last time you remember getting caught on one of those deals?
I can remember one where I about lost my cap, and it was Wade Boggs who could hit the ball that way, but he showed bunt.
Right.
So we put the play on, and I come crashing in, and he hit a line drive. I think it was probably, I don't know, 8-9 feet away from me. But when you're that close, it felt like it was right at me.
Sure. Menez fighting his son will put that away, and does. There's an opportunity that goes by, not being able to move the runner up. One out.
Bring up Kyle Seager. Kyle trying to extend his 16-game hitting streak. Really been swinging the bat well coming into the game. Kyle hitting .301 with 3 home runs, 12 RBIs. 12 RBIs leads the Mariners.
Kyle bounced out to the first baseman Trumbo. Seager having a fantastic month of April. First pitch. In there for a strike. Seager leads the club in runs, hits, total bases, doubles, and RBIs. Infield double play depth. Angels in their infield, Jimenez, Romine, Kendrick, and Trumbo. Outfield of Trout, Borges, and Hamilton with Iannetta behind the plate.
37 pitches for Jason, 24 strikes. Throwing a lot of fastballs. Typically he'll try to sink it. He also has a cutter he'll mix in with it.
Robert Andino at first. He's the third Mariner base runner against former teammate Jason Vargas. Slow breaking ball in there for a strike. Actually, Andino was not a teammate of Vargas. Andino was with the Orioles last year. Look at Jason Vargas here. I don't know if he's up 10 or down 10. One of the great poker faces in baseball. 0-2. Fouled off. Foul ball. Definitive call by Mike Everett.
He's saying he hit the ground.
I think he heard the same thing we did.
Yeah. It looked like he looked down to Wally Bell, who's the third base umpire, for some help. As you take a look at the swing, it clearly hits the ground. Everett not sure. He was weighted. Looked down towards Wally Bell and then made the call saying it hit the ground first, and he ended up getting it right.
Good teamwork.
Yeah.
I like it, Mike Everett. He's a little chatterbox, keeps it going, you know, a little pep. I like that. Here's a pitch, and he couldn't hold up. They knew it. Kyle Seager gone. Third strikeout. Are you the ultimate Northwest Mariner fan in the state of Oregon? Then Root Sports is looking for you throughout the month of May. Capture a photo on Instagram or Twitter with hashtag UltimateNWFanOregon showing why it should be you. You're going to be entered to win a trip and a VIP experience, the Mariners Fan Appreciation Night that's coming up in September here at Safeco Field. Official rules, go to rootsports.com. See if Morales can pick up a run. Off speed pitch. Boy, he's got that thing working well.
Really good changeup. Vargas aware of the fact that Morales has hit him well. Morales .417 with a couple of home runs coming into this game. He's had a good series, 3 for 10. Came up with the big pinch hit, base hit last night, hitting right-handed. Solid line drive into left field. Played the go-ahead run for the Mariners.
These guys are traded for each other. Morales and Vargas, and another off-speed pitch.
Another changeup. Change-up away. I think one of the things for Vargas, he has such a good feel on what the hitters are doing, and a big reason why is he was a good hitter in college. So he knows what that's about.
Did some DHing at Long Beach State.
Yeah, so changing speeds is what he's best at. His fastball is only 89 miles an hour, but he makes it work.
Morales took Vargas deep twice in one game in Anaheim last season. Mariners, however, won that ball game. Mariners went 8-11 against the Angels last year, 5-4 on the road, and 3-7 here at Safeco Field. 0-2. Reached out, rolled over on one. Romine throws over, and that'll do it. So the Mariners stranded runner, no runs, no hits, 1 error, and a man left through 3. Zeros on the board here at Safeco Field. Baseball on Root Sports being brought to you by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. By Sterling Bank, nobody works harder for you. Equal housing lender, member FDIC. And by Linwood Honda, experience the difference. The sun will make an appearance here momentarily here. I love the time-lapse photography, looking at the skyline of Seattle. There you go. A lot of cloud movements every which way. Early Sunday certainly brings out a cheery attitude in everybody here at the ballpark at Safeco Field. Dave Sims, Mike Flowers, Root Sports crew. Good pitching matchup. Vargas against Iwakuma, and nice patch of blue appearing over Safeco. Albert Pujols, 3-time NL MVP when he's with the Cardinals. Once at ball one, he'll be followed by Josh Hamilton and Mark Trumbo. This is a good 3-4-5 that the Angels can run out there every day. Right field for Michael Morse. 1 out.
In fact, this is the group or the order that Tom Wilhelmsen had to work his way through in the 9th inning last night, trying to protect that 1-run lead for Felix, who had gone 8.
Tell you what, good work too. He got Albert to fly to center, gave up a base hit to Hamilton on the first pitch. A couple pitches later, he stole second, strikes out Trumbo, and Kendrick lines out to Ackley, and the Mariners won a ball game. To that point, well, to that Morales RBI in the 7th, the Mariners had left a whole bunch of people on. Going back to the previous game, pretty crazy numbers. Hamilton, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, offers at the first pitch.
I think Iwakuma probably had an idea and threw him a split right in the dirt. Another one. We're talking about Vargas and his changeups. He threw 3 in a row right there to get Morales. It's rare to see pitchers throw back-to-back changeups because they're worried that your timing is going to be better on it, but to do it 3 times, it lets you know how much confidence he has in that pitch. Similar to what Jamie Moyer used to do when he was here. Jamie would triple up on his changeup.
One and 2 to Hamilton. Iwakuma's allowed 2 hits, Vargas 1. Swing and a miss, and Hamilton's gone. That is 4 strikeouts of the last 5 hitters. Total of 6 on the game.
You take a look at the last pitch. High fastball, and this is after all those splits that were down in the dirt. You can see the locations on our EQC tracer. This one, he just elevates it. 90-mile-an-hour heater and throws it right by him. Again, smart pitching from Iwakuma, just having a real good feel for it.
2 outs, nobody on. Mark Trumbo, he struck out on 3 pitches. First time up. Strike 1.
Wow, pretty good pitch. It really was right down the middle.
One and 1 to Mark Trumbo. Born in Anaheim, lives in Orange, California, so he's been all local here as a pro, not way outside. 2 and 1. Trumbo, a .268 hitter last year, 32 home runs, 95 runs batted in. And that's an improvement on 254, 29, and 87. This kid's pretty good. 2-1. Popped it up. Chavez taking control. And Iwakuma, very good work through 4 as fans enjoy the great scene here at Safeco Field. Make sure you step up to the plate and hit one out of the park with savings on Sound Transit. Rethink your commute. Visit soundtransit.org. A couple of pitchers on top of their games here this Sunday afternoon. Jason Vargas and Hisashi Iwakuma. Michael Morse going to lead it off. How about Morse yesterday? Almost hit the ball through the webbing of shortstop Brendan Harris. We cited yesterday El Duque Orlando Hernandez. That happened on June 5th of '99 against the Mets at Yankee Stadium. The other one I was thinking about, and you'll remember this, Mike. Remember Terry Mulholland? He was with the Giants at the time at Shea Stadium playing against the Mets. And he threw his glove. The ball stuck in the glove, threw it over to Bob Brenly. He was playing first base today. Saw that video. YouTube had that video this morning. 0-2 here to Morse.
I do remember that. We saw it yesterday with Harris. When the ball went into his glove, he knew that he had caught it. You could see him reach in there because he thought he had a chance to double up. I believe it was Seager at first. He just couldn't get it out of there.
About popped it. Popped the string in there, man. Morse fouled out to first baseman Trumbo. His first time.
Michael also just missed a home run down the right field line in yesterday's game. He looks like he's starting to swing the bat better. Good changeup.
Vargas with his 4th strikeout.
He has a good changeup going today.
Bring the entire family out to the ballpark and save when you join us for BECU Family Nights this season. You're going to pick up a great deal for the whole gang. Select view level seats for only $10. The next event, it's coming up tomorrow, 7:10 start time against the Baltimore Orioles. Get your tickets and a list of special offers at Safeco Field by visiting mariners.com/specials. Kelly Shopik, first time up, he took it, called third strike. He was the first strikeout victim of Jason Vargas. With this start, Vargas has now faced every team in the major leagues. One. This is with the fastball away. 2 balls, 1 strike.
We talked about Vargas and his struggles coming into this game. His ERA at a 5.82, but we all know that he likes to pitch in this ballpark, and he's doing that today. He looks like he has really good command of his fastball, especially his 2-seamer away from the right-handers, and his changeup is excellent today.
Punches this one down the line. Might have a chance, and Hamilton can't make the grab. Shopik with the play in front of him. Gets into second base with a double. Just the second Mariner hit.
Take a look. Kelly going with it. There's a 2-seamer running away from him. Hits it down the line. Great effort by Hamilton. All out dive for it. Able to smother it, but when it gets away from him, Shopik decides to go to second. Picks up a double. Gets himself into scoring position. Good effort by Hamilton.
But Kelly Shopik, his 3rd double, comes with 1 out here in the 4th inning. Brings up Montero. Hamilton take care of this. 2 outs.
Second baseman number 13,
Dustin Ackley got a hard base hit. Went over the shoulder. About a right ear of Howie Kendrick in the right field his first time up. Howie the Angels second baseman.
His average steadily going up. 247 now for Dustin.
Bouncing ball down to Trumbo. A couple easy hops, wins the race, and that'll do it for the Mariners. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, a man left, 4 complete in a scoreless ball game.
so he's just making his way out behind the plate. Hi, everybody. Angie Bentinck here at the Ford Sports Desk. Meantime, the Orioles are coming here to Safeco Field. Next, today they were trying to complete the sweep of the Oakland A's. We might be getting the Baltimore Orioles at a bad time. They're playing good baseball. In the fourth inning, Baltimore rallying. Chris Davis doubles to right field. 2 runs come around to score. And right now, the Orioles lead the A's 5-0 in the bottom of the 5th. Gentlemen?
All right, Angie, thank you very much. They say back in Baltimore, the Orioles, they're getting it done, that's for sure. Chris Davis hitting .349. Wow. Howie Kendrick to lead off against Iwakuma.
With some pop behind that .349, by the way.
Saw Markakis and Jones go back-to-back last night. Jonesy hitting .359. He's 2 for 3 with 2 ribbies today. Howie Kendrick doubled over the head of right fielder Michael Morris, first time up.
Ourselves a good pitching matchup today. We thought that Iwakuma would pitch well. He has all year. Vargas pitching in this ballpark. 58 pitches overall, 41 strikes for Iwakuma. Giving up 2 hits, a double and a single. Vargas has done the same, a double and a single, and both clubs now 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, one of those situations, Vargas against his former team, big comfort factor in this ballpark. We show 21 and 20 career here at Safeco Field. Two and two. Be Kendrick, Iannetta, and Jimenez 6, 7, and 8 here for the Angels in the 5th. Two and two. Talking about the Orioles coming to town. 5th at batting, 262 entering today. And Nate McLeod done a heck of a job as their leadoff.
It's been a good pickup from them.
Yeah.
He's kind of fallen off too. He's an all-star with Pittsburgh, and then all of a sudden we didn't hear about him anymore. And he showed up in Baltimore and kind of an extra outfielder, and he's done a real good job.
He went back to Pittsburgh. He went went from nobody knew him, all-star Pittsburgh, fell off the radar, goes to Atlanta.
That's right, I forgot about it.
Goes back to Pittsburgh. Nothing really, and then now in his second year, I believe this second year in with Baltimore, he's done well for Buck Showalter and company. 2-2 pitch. Iwakuma, unofficially, that is his second 3-ball count today. He's not walked anybody. Struck out 6. Chris Iannetta's on deck. Ground ball down to Ackley. Throws at the Angels second baseman. 1 out. 5th inning, 1 out here at Safeco Field. Time for the AT&T trivia question. Which MLB team holds the record with 21 consecutive losses to open the season? The Cleveland Spiders, the Louisville Colonels, the Philadelphia Phillies, the Baltimore Orioles. This is a Curtis Wilson special, isn't it? Baltimore's coming to town.
It's Baltimore.
Frank Robinson, that crew.
I believe
Frank was the manager. Remember, they had that brutal start one year.
I thought, though, that Cal Ripken Sr. started the year as the manager, and then somewhere along the way they lost whatever it was, 13, 14 in a row. They fired him, which upset Cal, of course, as you can imagine.
Of course. And
they continued to lose after that. But I believe it was 21 games that they ended up losing to start that year.
So it was Cal
You would
Ripken
remember
Sr.
if it was the Phillies, of course.
Of course. Those Phillies lost 23 in a row. I think it was 62 I think it was. Here's a 2-0 pitch to Iannetta. I will ride with you on that one. The Orioles.
Go with Baltimore.
Iannetta's got a 2-1 count. Grounded out to Andino at shortstop. Iwakuma with 6 Ks through 4 1/3. Right into Shopik's glove. 2-2.
He has everything working for him today. Pinpoint control with his fastball to get ahead of hitters. That right there, a good slider. We've seen the good split from him. And then occasionally he'll throw a slow curveball up there at 71, 72 miles an hour.
2-2. Down to third. Seager's got it. Nice dig by Morales for out number 2. Be here this Thursday. Got an exciting MLS matchup for you. Portland takes on New England. 7:30 p.m. start time. Catch all the action only on Root Sports. Ten in a row retired by Iwakuma. Menez fouls it out of play. Felix finished retiring the last 14 he faced last night. .71 miles an hour. Impressive. Pretty much same arm angle, arm speed, and
yeah, sometimes I wonder if he throws that pitch just because he's getting bored.
0-2. Swing and a miss. Whatever, it works. 11 consecutive retired. K is for Kuma. No score. Sports is being brought to you by Captain Morgan. Raise your glass, always in moderation, to life, love, and loot. And by Mazda. We believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. Good looking day here at Safeco Field. Here's Jason Bay to lead it off. Bay, Andino, and Chavez against former Mariner Jason Vargas. What a pitching duel today. Bay in his first at bat struck out on a 1-2 pitch. Vargas has struck out 4, walked 1. Iwakuma struck out 7 and retired the last 11 that he's faced. Bay swings through. Iwakuma has not walked anybody.
this game is moving on. Vargas, percentage of fastballs is slowly going down, using his changeup more and more as he works his way through the lineup here the second time.
Swing and a miss. 5 strikeouts for Vargas.
He's continuing to use his changeup. He's doubling, tripling up on his changeup now. And it's been an effective pitch. As you take a look at this, 3 changeups in a row to Jason.
Second time he's tripled up. Here's Robert Andino. We noted last time up he reached on an error by Howie Kendrick. That Vargas and Andino were not teammates with the Mariners last year, with Andino in Baltimore, but they were teammates 05-06 with the Florida Marlins. Corey Boatman tweeting that one in. Thank you.
Andino reached on an error his first time up, hit a ground ball to Howie Kendrick at second. Ended up in right field, right between the legs of Howie Kendrick.
Two hits apiece for these two ball clubs. Mariners got the Ackley base hit, bad hop over Howie in the 4th. And a 1-out double by Shopping in the 4th. Go back, the Ackley was in the 2nd inning. Ackley 2nd inning, Shopping in the 4th. 3-1 count here. Andino with Chavez on deck. Trumbo going to take a look. It's working its way back to him. Almost made the catch, missed it.
He fooled him a little bit. He overran it and then tried to change directions. As he finds it right there, has to run back, and it's out of his reach. Just overran it.
Russell Wilson, quarterback for the Seahawks, and his wife Ashton Chu on the screen left.
Good way to enjoy a day off.
You know it, 4th row. Been working out with the wide receivers down in Southern California the last few weeks. Really good kid. Some at the Pro Bowl. Baseball guy, played professionally in the minor leagues with the Rockies. Second baseman. Had the pleasure of calling, I think, 3 of the last 4 Seahawk games on national radio. One thing to see him on TV, to watch him in person, is amazing. Good job by Andino to work a walk, the second issue by Vargas today.
Bring up Indy Chavez. Chavez 0 for 2. Played well trying to keep his hitting streak alive. He's at 7 games, hitting .367 over the 7-game hitting streak. Came into the game today hitting .320.
Chavez broken back. Looper going to get down. Andino checks. He's going to go to third. Now he holds, and Hamilton has a laser and hit the cutoff man beautifully. Andino got a third of the way down and saw Jeff Datz with the stop sign, and boy, did he slam on the brakes.
We'll take a look at it. Breaks his bat, but able to deliver a base hit into right field. I thought Andino would try it because it wasn't hit hard. Hamilton does have a strong throwing arm.
Building an inning here, 1 out, 2 on. Kyle Seager, 16-game hitting streak on the line. He's 0 for 2. Ground out the first and a strikeout. Kendrick goes for the double play, and they almost get it. They get the middleman, Chavez. Down to third goes Andino.
Would have been a great turn as you take a look at it. Kendrick going to his left. It's off a strong throw to Romine, who's playing shortstop today. A little bit surprised Chavez didn't slide into second base, went in standing up.
Dangerous.
Bring up Morales. Mariners now 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. Morales, the guy, again, coming into the game, had success against Vargas. .417 average against him coming into the game.
First ball outside, ball 1. Fly to right and a ground out to short today for Kendrick. Vargas, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks. So he tripled up on the changeup with Morales and Bay so far.
Yeah, Morales ended up grounding out to shortstop his last time up, and it was after 3 changeups.
Morales 8 for 20, runners in scoring position. Outside, 2-1. Ball down to Romine. We'll throw over to get Morales, and that'll do it. Mariners leave a couple. 5 in the books here at Safeco Field in Seattle. Double shutout being pitched by Iwakuma and Vargas.
Angie Mentink here at the Ford Sports Desk. Next up, it's the Baltimore Orioles. Now, they've had some struggles with their rotation. Jake Arrieta was sent down, and there was a lot of talk that Freddie Garcia would be called up to get Monday's start. It did not happen, and instead it's Zach Britton, who competed for that 5th spot in the rotation, didn't get it, but he's got a 1.98 ERA in Norfolk right now. Jason Hamill, their opening day starter, is in game 2. And in the finale, it's Wei-Yin Chen versus Aaron Harang. Gentlemen?
All right, Angie, thank you. Baltimore comes in, started today, 5th in hitting, 5th in pitching, and 3rd in fielding in the American League. Iwakuma on a heck of a roll. He's retired 11 consecutive hitters. Here's Andrew Romine, 0-1 pitch to him. And there's a base hit.
This is the slow breaking ball, 71 miles an hour. Romine able to stay back on it and hits it hard into right field. Even with all those great numbers you just mentioned with Baltimore, they find themselves in 2nd place behind the Red Sox, 2 games back.
Red Sox just beat up on Houston over the weekend, completing a sweep. Mike Napoli been going crazy. Just past Seager for the league lead in doubles entering today at 13 to Kyle's 10. Top of the order, here's Borges. Single and a strikeout. A base hit by Romine. First base runner for the Angels since the double by Kendrick with 1 out in the second. Heck of a save there by Morales.
I think he saved Romine. Boy, that was going to hit him right in the back.
Borges shows bunt. He'll take strike one. Borges leads the club with 2 sacrifices. Mike Scioscia likes to play a little ball, and he's got a team that can swing the bat in a big way as well. Borges and Trout too fast this guy. Romine can motor a little bit at first. Did not go.
Wow,
Marty Foster. Sounded like I thought he tipped it.
I thought he tried to bunt it. Kelly Shopik agreeing. He thought he tried to bunt it. Home plate umpire Mike Everett doing the right thing. He went down to Marty Foster at first to get some help.
Yep, immediately.
Yeah. Typical thing with Borges, who's trying to sacrifice, is you still don't have much time to mess around with him. If you bobble it at all, he'll beat it out for a hit.
Kyle in on the grass, down to third. 1-1 count. Up high for ball 2.
This is when it gets tough. 2-1 counts are a good count to hit and run. Managers feel that the pitcher has to throw a strike, doesn't want to go to 3-1. He'll start the runner and take the bunt off. Kyle moved back a little bit.
Yeah. He's taking right along with you. 2-1. Pretty good lead by Romine, back safely.
Well, Iwakuma right there was just trying to help Kyle out a little bit. Throw over to first to see if Borges would show if he was going to bunt or not. He didn't do anything. But Iwakuma was trying to help Kyle out a little bit.
Two and 1. Lays down a bunt. It's a beauty. Kuma. Wow, just got it. Oh, man.
Flies.
That was impressive sacrifice. Watch this.
It was fairly routine, except for the man that's running. Half a step.
The sacrifice. 1-4. 1 out. Runner at second. And it brings up Mike Trout, who struck out twice today. Our Mika hit zone from Mike Trout last year. Unanimous choice. Rookie of the Year in the American League. Definitely do not want to go dead central or just below. Great year that he had last year. Ball 1.
Angels so far in the game 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. Mariners outfield, Andy Chavez shading him a little bit towards right. Bay and Morris both playing straight away.
Romine down at second with 1 down. That bunt by Borges 1-3, not 1-4. 3.7 seconds from contact to first base for Borges. Flying. In there for a strike, 2-1. In there for a strike again. Off-speed pitch at 82. 2-2. Runner in scoring position here for the Angels. 2-2 to Trout with Pujols on deck. Ground ball. Andino through his legs. Romine head first sliding to third. Gets up quickly and scores. 1-0 Angels. 26. Nice recovery by Romine.
I think Romine is the reason why Andino makes this error.
I agree.
I think he was thinking about going to third, came in, you could see his head come up and look towards third before the ball was there and ended up going under his glove.
I was surprised to see the runner move on that.
I was too. It was a bad play on Romine's part. He shouldn't have tried to go to third, but ended up working out for the Angels. Typically, when you're out running the bases, if the ball is to your right, you hold your ground. But he took off right away. But it looked like Andino, because of that, was going to try to get the lead runner.
And he would, I think, if he fields it, he's got it.
He gets him, but unfortunately, he just picked his head up a little bit too soon and went under his glove.
Tough break for Iwakuma and the Mariners, who now trail 1-0. 1 out. Pujols is the hitter. Down at first safely is Trout. Each team with an error now. Kendrick made one earlier. 1-2. Pitch to Pujols. Man at first. Mariners looking for a double play. They get a line drive down the line. That is a foul ball.
A split. They ended up leaving it inside. Albert, golf shot down the line.
Run in. Romine leads off with a base hit to right, sacrifice the second, scores on an E6 from second. 0-2 here to Pujols. Josh Hamilton's on deck for the Angels.
Pitch count starting to get up there on Iwakuma. 87 pitches for him.
Carter Cap starting to heat up for the Mariners.
His high this year is 93. That was in his last outing against Houston.
0-2 to Pujols. Shopping sets up outside, and that pitch way off the plate. 1-2. Outfield deep for Pujols. Iwakuma takes a look at Trout. 1-2. Back again.
There's quite a battle going on. There's Carter Capps getting loose out in the bullpen. Seventh pitch coming up to Pujols in this at bat. The last pitch was a fastball up middle in to him and fouled it straight back.
Well, a long sit for Jason Vargas. One and two to Pujols. Trout, not much of a lead.
We're talking about Trout and Borges not running much. A big part of that's probably the guys hitting behind him. I think Socha here early in the season is going to let those guys hit.
1-2. Boy, another one. Sixth inning action. Long at bat here by Albert Pujols. Eighth pitch coming up. Albert had been swinging early in his first two at bats, two pitches in each at bat. And he takes a call, third strike. Can't believe it. Kuma will take it. That's his eighth strikeout of the afternoon. Take a look at our money tree in time play, and this certainly qualifies here. It's a terrific pitch, an outstanding pitch to Albert Pujols.
It was a good battle. This is the eighth pitch of the at bat. It'll be a breaking ball. Shopik wants it away. Comes back in and catches the inside corner as Mike Everett rings him up. Albert thought that pitch was still inside.
Big second out. Brings up Josh Hamilton, who's fly to left and struck out. Hamilton ground ball. Ackley throws him out, and it'll do it. So for the Angels, a run on one hit and error and a man left. It's 1-0 Angels. Bottom of the sixth, more Shopik and Montero. Big cloud mass moving in over Safeco Field here. Dave Sims, Mike Flowers, Root Sports Crew. Mariners trying to win their first series of the season against their former teammate Jason Vargas. Line drive left field. Good start, Michael Morris.
It's a pretty good pitch. This is a fastball down and away from him. Long arms, gets extension, lines it into left field. Michael's been swinging the bat much better lately. Hopefully that hand is feeling better. Start seeing some of that power that we saw the first week of the season.
How great was that?
Awesome.
Kelly Shopik got a double to right after striking out looking. Back one to Kelly. Wind blowing hard to left field now.
Just picked up.
Swing and a miss. Indeed, Old Glory now it's going out to center, but it's swirling and blowing pretty hard. Shopik behind 0-2. Low.
Carter Capps continuing to throw in the pen, so it looks like Iwakuma this afternoon is finished.
Good work.
Oh, he pitched great.
8 strikeouts, no walks. At one point retired 11 consecutive hitters. There's a 1-2 to Shopik. Center field, backing up Borges. Still going back. On the track, makes the catch. At about 395, fence at 401. AT&T trivia question. MLB team holding the record 21 consecutive losses to open the season. Mike and I rode with Mike on this one. Baltimore Orioles fans rode with us. Survey says it is indeed the Baltimore Orioles in '88. Good catch. But didn't Frank Robinson have a run too where there was a bad stretch that he
I
had
don't remember that
with the Orioles?
No, I don't remember that.
Maybe I'm just getting confused with that one. Here's Montero. Looks at strike one.
I just remember that. That's one of the reasons why I remember it is because Cal Ripken Sr., who was the manager that year, and I remember him getting fired, and Cal Jr. made some comments which I'd never seen or heard him do before that were pretty strong towards the organization about firing his dad.
And that was a job that his dad had waited all his life for.
Right.
They were on a cover of Sports Illustrated. We see that picture, blow up of that cover, walking into the dining room at Camden Yards. Oriole Park at Camden Yards, and is not reminded with several World Series championship covers as well. Ball and 2 strikes to Montero, who's walked and fly to right. Comes a 1-2. Bounced up there. $20,638 on hand here this afternoon. 3 more home games where the Mariners take off a pretty good stretch. Here's the 2-2. Struck him out right after. And for Vargas, his 6th strikeout. 2 outs, man on here in the 6th. The Mariner moms and dads, did you know there's a park within the ballpark here at Safeco Field? Well, it's the Seattle Children's Playfield located in center field, featuring a great playground with equipment and concession options for your youngest fans. So next time the family is catching Mariners baseball, stop by the Seattle Children's Playfield. Strike one to Ackley, who's got a base hit and a ground out to first.
With that base hit, Dustin extending his hitting streak to 9 games. He's had a good series, 4 for 12.
Strike two. Good job by Iannetta, 1-2. Angel run coming on an E6 by Robert Andino, allowing Andrew Romine to score second base.
Has really changed things up on the Mariners. First time through the lineup, he was right around 80% fastballs. He's down to 62%. He's set right now. More changeups, a lot of changeups, a few breaking balls in there, but it's been mostly his changeup.
Curveball hit to left field, right on the cases. Mike Trout. That'll do it for the Mariners. They get a leadoff single from Morse. He goes no further. 7th inning coming up. 1-0 Angels. Take a look at the Mariners calendar, brought to you by Sleep Country USA. Orioles for the next 3 games here at home. And then the odyssey that is the month of May. 3 in Toronto, 2 in Pittsburgh. Come home for the A's for 3, and then back east for the Yankees, Cleveland. And the back of that Yankee-Cleveland trip would be the Angels. Cap on backwards, that's punter John Ryan from the Seahawks. Good to have a lot of Seahawk guys here in the building. Russell Wilson, the quarterback, was down front about 4th row. Hopefully, maybe he's making his way up here. Nice fella. Mark Trumbo against new Mariner pitcher Carter Capps. Broken bat pop-up. Ackley will take care of it. 1 out. Bring up Howie Kendrick. Kuma, nice game. Tough that he had to give up that unearned run in this 1-0 lead. Here's Howie Kendrick. Iwakuma with his performance took his ERA from 1.99 to 1.67.
Just the one run, it was unearned. Did a great job of locating his fastball, changing speeds on the Angels.
Big wave by Kendrick, 0-2.
This will be a little bit different look for him with Caps on the mound. Fastball mid to upper 90s with a hard slider.
Still 0-2. Kendrick to be followed by Chris Iannetta, the catcher. Two. Swing and a miss. Right-hander's at his mercy, that is for sure. 2 outs. First strikeout. Check out our Sterling Bank. Nobody works harder for you.
And for Iwakuma, again, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 run. It was unearned. Didn't walk anybody. 8 strikeouts. It's really been a good job with the strikeouts this year. 92 pitches, 66 of those were strikes. Consistently worked ahead of the hitters for the Angels. Again, changing speeds, locating his fastball. Really good.
Chris Iannetta, strike 1. Caps strike away from ending this quick stint here.
On a few more off-speed pitches.
Here comes the 0-2.
Another slider down and away.
Two outs, nobody on. Swing and a miss. Overpowered him at 97. Nice inning. Carter Caps get some bat action here with Bandino and Chavez. When we come back for the 7th, but right now we will stay here for the presentation. God bless America.
God bless America. Please welcome Seattle Opera's Matthew Scullin.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
By Washington's Lottery. Want more chances to win some cash? Buy a $5 Mega Millions ticket with a $5 Mega Plier and receive a voucher for a chance to win one of 5 $1,000 prizes each week. Play bonus play from Washington's Lottery today. Visit WALottery.com for details. Hey, I want to put in an order, Mike, for Edgar's.
It's been a popular place, I can tell you that. I haven't been out there yet. You gone out there?
I've been out there. As a drive towards Edgar's. Get up! Get up! Go on! A home run for Jason Bay to tie it at 1. Jason Bay rides one out of here. His second home run. 5th RBI. Came at a great time here in the 7th inning stretch. New ball game at 1-1.
Jason Vargas struggles this year. The home run ball has not been the problem. This is just the 3rd home run he's given up this year. 86 miles an hour right in the middle of the plate. Over the bullpen. Angels bullpen.
Fly ball right field that Hamilton will take care of off the bat of Andino. Talking about Edgar's, and they had incoming. Jason Bay, a home run off of Jason Vargas. Bay had been 1 for 5 entering today against Vargas.
87 pitches for Jason.
Now the short's up.
88 now. His high this year is 109. 109 his last outing against the Rangers.
To count the ending. Jason Bay charges one up. Mariners back ended at 1-1. 364 feet on that blast, the second home run. Howie Kendrick and roll away. Let's check in with Angie Mente.
Guys, last time we checked in with the Baltimore Orioles and the Oakland A's, the O's had a 5-0 lead. Well, since then, the A's have rallied quite a bit, actually. They brought this game to within 1. Bases loaded for Josh Donaldson. He sends a drive to left. Seth Smith and Yoenis Cespedes come around to score. But since that happened, the Orioles added 1. So right now, it's a 2-run game. 6-4 Orioles on top in the 7th. Gentlemen?
All right, thank you. Orioles in town the next 3 days. Orioles were murder on the Mariners last year. Beat them 8 out of 9. Orioles went 8 out of 9 against the Mariners, and so did the Chicago White Sox. There's Kyle Seager, 16-game hitting streak on the line, 0 for 3.
Kyle with 3 home runs on the year. 2 of those coming off of left-handed pitching. He's quickly behind in the count. He's going to have to battle now. He can find a way to get on from Morales, who waits on deck.
Another good piece of news coming off that Bay home run. Iwakuma's off the hook for a loss.
Yeah, certainly didn't deserve one.
Seager behind 0-2. Jason Bay homered against Houston back on the 9th of April. Pop this one up. Kendrick calling off Trumbo. And that'll do it. Highlight of the inning, the 7th inning home stretch. A home run by Jason Bay ties it at 1-1. Bartender, then be sure to stop by the QFC in U Village tomorrow afternoon, noon to 1. Get a chance to meet Mariner closer Tom Wilhelmsen. Again, that's tomorrow from noon to 1 at the University Village QFC. 1-1 ball game. Here's Jimenez. Strike against Carter Capps. Capps went 1-2-3 in the 7th, including 2 strikeouts in relief of Hisashi Iwakuma. Jimenez so far, fly to center and a strikeout. Jimenez, Romine, and Borges 8-9-1 for the Angels. Come in with a record of 9 up, 14 down. The Mariners at 10-16.
Maybe that last inning for Vargas would be his last, but there's no action out in the pen for the Angels, so it looks like Jason Vargas will come back out and pitch the 8th. Good fastball right on the outside corner. Angels bullpen overall 3.94 ERA. That's 17th in the major leagues.
Win today by the Mariners can move them into 3rd place. A half game behind these Angels. 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. 3 consecutive strikeouts by Carter Capps. 1 out here in the 8th. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. Andrew Romine, the shortstop, strikeout looking and a base hit to right. He scored the only run for the Angels. Got a base hit to right, was sacrificed to second by Borges, and then on a ground ball by Trout to the shortstop Robert Andino. Romine's at second, and if Andino fields it cleanly, he's going to be a dead duck at 3rd. Instead, the ball went over and underneath the glove of Andino. Head first slide to 3rd, popped up and scored. That action happening back in the 6th.
Going to see Carter Capps coming in throwing strikes. 15 pitches, 11 strikes for him. 4 first pitch strikes to the 5 hitters he has faced.
Up the middle, Andino. Nice play. 2 outs.
Chopper back up the middle. Andino comes flying across the other side of second base. Gets rid of it quickly to get Romine. Moves him out by a couple of steps. Back to the top of the order, Peter Borges.
Iwakuma struck out 8. Capps has added 3 more to that. Vargas has struck out 6. Strike 1. A lot of confidence now in that breaking ball, huh?
He's used it quite a bit today. It looks like he's thrown more sliders than he has fastballs, which is unusual. Here comes another one. Another slider.
Count it 1-1. Borges play him straight away. Andy Chavez maybe a step or 2 towards 1-1. And that's going to get down for a base hit, and that's going to be some trouble because Borges can run Morse's throw, not in time. Double for Borges, his 2nd hit. It's his 2nd double of the season.
97-mile-an-hour fastball, middle away from him. One of the improvements of Borges that I've noticed this year is he's hitting the ball to right field quite a bit. That's a solid line drive, and as Dave mentioned, with his speed, no problem getting into second base.
Brings up Mike Trout. Trout a couple of strikeouts and a fielder's choice today. Big out right here. 2 outs. Pujols, Hamilton, and Trumbo behind him. Ball one.
Medina and Furbush getting loose in the pen.
Medina's made a good show of himself, hasn't he?
I think so. It's a good fastball at 95 miles an hour, a hard slider. Pitches with a lot of confidence. Doesn't appear to be nervous or scared at all out there.
Caps behind 2-0.
It's Carter's best fastball at 98 miles an hour.
Two-0 to Trout. Big pitch. Back with a strike. Another important offering here from Carter Capps. Mike Everett. Brief chat with Mike Scioscia.
Scioscia didn't like that little spin move.
Hey, you addressed me. I have to acknowledge it. Yeah, that was pretty good. 2-1. Fourteenth year skipper of the Angels, Mike Scioscia. Outstanding catcher with the Dodgers. 2-1. Way outside. 3-1. Pujols on deck.
He threw him a fastball. Good one on the corner. He challenges him again. Now it's a 3-1 count.
3-1 pitch. Went down and get it. Fouls it off, so count is full.
Good sinking fastball that time at 97 on the inside corner.
One ball game. Jason Bay, first pitch, 7th inning, home run left field, tied it up. Carter Capps trying to keep it that way right now. He's got a full count to Mike Trout. Good speed at second. Borges pitch. Fly ball, right field, playable. Here comes Morse. Coming on, makes the catch. A 1-1 ball game. 8th inning. Home 8th coming up. Kendrys Morales, Michael Morse, and Kelly Shopping. That sounds like some runs. We're going to find out. over to the bartender for the 9th inning. Catch new episodes of Mariners All Access every Sunday throughout the season before Mariner pregame shows. Get exclusive player interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, Mariners stories you can't find anywhere else. And if you missed Sunday's episode, tune in for re-airs throughout the week on Root Sports. For a local programming schedule, go to rootsports.com. rootsports.com. Here's Morales leading it off against Vargas. High fly ball. It's going to stay in the ballpark, but it drives Borges back just shy of the track.
Need a little bit of that wind we saw earlier in the game, Dave.
That wind was blowing hard out the left there for a while. The American flag was pretty much starts there for a while.
The turn and was going straight out to center. May have helped that one a little bit. Vargas, this is the furthest he's gone this year. His last outing, he went 7 innings, so 7 1/3 now, deepest he's gone. I had a feeling he would pitch well in this ballpark.
Oh, you don't know, absolutely.
De La Rosa getting loose in the pen for the Angels. Hard throwing right-hander. Mariners have seen him a couple of times in this series.
Here's Michael Morse. Morse last time up, first pitch swinging, lined a bullet to left field. He's 1 for 3.
Big Tom, just in case. In fact, if the score remains the same, Tom probably comes back out anyway.
That was a going for the lead swing. 1 and 2. Fights it off.
Tied him up with a cut fastball in on his hands. Been pitching Michael away in the game, and then when he tried to come back inside, elevated the fastball. See on our EQC tracer right there at the top of the strike zone.
One and 2. Pitch to Morse. High drive, left field. That's plenty out of here. Home run, Michael Morse. 2-1 Mariners. 7th home run. And the Mariners have a 2-1 lead.
And it looked like Vargas tried to go back inside with another cut fastball. And saying at the beginning of the game, Michael's been swinging much better lately. That finger must be feeling better as he gives high fives with both hands. That's encouraging also. And this is just a rope. It looked like Vargas tried to go back inside with another cut fastball, and he lines this into the Angels bullpen. Didn't quite get it in there. You can see the catcher Iannetta set up underneath him. He leaves it out over the plate, and Michael hammers it into the bullpen.
Last 2 times up, Morse hit the ball hard against Vargas, and he got all 4 bags this time. Shopik chops one foul. Michael Morse, good to see him go deep. His 7th home run, 11th RBI. Mariners have the lead at 2-1. They tied it on a Jason Bay leadoff homer in the 7th. That home run came on Vargas's 100th pitch.
394 feet on a line.
Pulled a string on Shopik 0-2. First home run for Morse since April 9. That was here against Houston. 0-2 here to Shopik. Angels 9th. Big Tom's going to face Pujols, Hamilton, Trumbo. 3, 4, and 5. He faced that group last night. Got the save, his 7th. Mariners won it 3-2. Here's the 0-2 to Shopik. Mike Everett goes down and gets help from Marty Foster. Says you're all good.
That'll be interesting because this will be the third time in 4 days that Tom will have faced the Angels. Last night he was making the comment that he threw a few more curveballs because he had faced them in the first game of the series.
Yeah, he won 1-2-3 in the ninth in the 6-0 win by the Mariners. What do you give the edge to generally in a situation like that?
I think if you talk to the pitchers, they'll tell you that if they execute your pitches, they'll get you out. But if you talk to hitters, they feel like they'll have an advantage. 105 pitches, 72 strikes for Jason. Anytime you see a pitcher multiple times, you just feel that you have a better idea of what he's trying to do, and you can make some adjustments accordingly.
2-2, and holding on is Iannetta. It's a strikeout for Vargas, his 7th, 2 down. Here in the home 8th. MLB.com at bat. It's the #1 source for live baseball everywhere you go. It's available for iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. At Bat delivers Mariners baseball with live audio, pitch tracking, stats, news, highlights, and more. So text At Bat to 31826 or visit Mariners.com for details. Here's Montero. Comebacker. So it's going to be put up to Wilhelmsen against the heart of the order for the Angels as Michael Morse gives the Mariners the lead. It was pitch number 100 for the former Mariner Jason Vargas, and he lined this baby out of here. 2-1 Mariners. Mariner power has given Seattle a 2-1 lead. Michael Morse puts the Mariners in front with that one-out homer in the 8th inning. That's home runs 26 and 27 for the Mariners on this young season. Third time now in the series. It's Big Tom Wilhelmsen, the bartender for last call. He's got, for the third time, Mike, 3, 4, and 5 in his front window.
Well, he's been dominant. An 0.82 ERA. Opponents average just 108 against him. 7 for 7 in save opportunities, and Eric Wedge is asking him to protect a 1-run lead back-to-back days. Actually, a night game last night, back to a day game today.
That Pujols led off the 9th at Thursday's game, grounded out to third, flied out to center in last night's game against Big Time. Here's the 0-1, breaking ball, 0-2.
As you would expect, Kyle Seager playing right on the line at third, trying to protect from the doubles. Outfielders all playing deep.
Oh, 2 to Pujols. Fly ball center field. Andy Chavez in his tracks. 1 out. Take a look at our head and shoulders pitch sequence. Josh Hamilton.
I thought this was great. Iwakuma in the game early. They know he's aggressive, so he starts him off with a little change up down, then he'll come back. Good split finger, get ahead. Let's go back down away again. Something off speed, little breaking ball, and then he throws a fastball up above the strike zone and gets him to wave at it. Excellent pitching by Iwakuma. We saw that from him all afternoon, but that sequence right there playing on the aggressiveness of Hamilton.
With that thought in mind, Hamilton sees a breaking ball up high, ball 1 from Wilhelmsen. Here's the 1-0. Good pitch, down and in. Good bite to it. Hamilton grounded out to second on Thursday night's game against Tom, and last night singled to left on the first pitch. Oh, 1-2.
And we took a bite out of Kelly Shopping.
So the Mariners 2 outs away from winning their first series of the season. Mariners 9-0 and leading after 8 innings. And they get a chance to move into third place in the American League West. Here's the 1-2. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. 2 down.
Big Tom. Not a lot of break between last night and this afternoon, but he is still throwing hard. 97 miles an hour again at the top of the strike zone to Hamilton, and he swings underneath it. Really good pitch, well located fastball right at the top of the strike zone.
The fans who came out today, 20,638. It's not over yet. Here's Mike Trumbo. 2 outs. Swing and a miss. Trumbo today struck out, fly to center, pop to second. Here's the 0-1. Strike 2. Oh, baby. 12-6 hammer time. Trumbo didn't like it.
Well, he thought that pitch was inside. Tom got the benefit of the call there. 78 miles an hour on that curveball.
Trying to end it. Here's the 0-2 to Trumbo. Just fouled it off. Boy, Tommy was ready to go to the old celebration. High five.
That was a great pitch. Curveball right on the outside corner, down and away. Not much he was going to do with this pitch. You could see him lunging out there and just barely gets a piece of it. Perfect pitch.
Oh, 0-2. Big Tom with the pitch. What with the breaking ball outside.
That's a good pitch. Make sure you bounce it up there. He just chased one. He was out in front of. Throw another one a little bit further away, maybe a little bit further down. See if you can get the swing.
Crowd on its feet. 20,638. Cloudy Sunday here in Seattle. Strike away from putting this one in the books. Wilhelmsen in the line and a pitch. Ground ball. Ackley throws to Morales. Mariners win it 2-1. They get their first series win. They move from 4th place to 3rd place. Carter Capps gets the win. He goes to 2-1. Vargas 0-3 with the loss, and Tom Wilhelmsen with his 8th save. And how about Mariner power today, Mike?
It was good to see the Mariners get a home run from Jason Bay, who had to start in left field. That came in the 7th inning to tie the game. And then Michael Morris in the bottom of the 8th. What timing. Another solo home run to give them the lead. So the Mariners scoring runs late in games, and last night and then again this afternoon. And asked Big Tom Wilhelmsen to come on and save it. Tom, his 8th save of the year. And Iwakuma, he won't get the win today, but how about him in an April that he had? A 1.67 ERA for Iwakuma.
Fabulous. As good at number 2 as there is in baseball as we speak, and hopefully throughout the season. Great to see the Mariners win a series. The Orioles are in next. Let's send it out to Brett and Bill.
Much